Down here was the fall.
Live.
That's cool.
All right. It's September 11, and it's the special committee on procurement process. An apology that we're starting late. We had another special call meeting for budget that ran over, and we wanted to finish that. So to anybody that tried to connect earlier, that's why we did not start then. So I have Councilmember Evans. I think that Councilmember Evans Siegel is on our way, but we want to go ahead and get started in the interest of time.
She's right here.
Oh, okay. Good timing. All right, we'll officially call the meeting to order. It's 5:20. Okay, so this is going to be a very short meeting. What I wanted to do with this meeting was for us to be able to go over what is our action plan, what do we want to do, and to also be able to talk about our timeline in terms of how we want to do it. One of the updates that we've had is that finance is working on a strategic plan that they want to share with us, and they've also asked that we give them about 2 weeks before they come and talk to us. Welcome, welcome, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, I like it. Look at that. We all spread out.
You like me to send an email so you don't have to look both ways?
It's okay. It's yeah.
Symmetry.
Yeah, that way it's easier.
Throwing off the symmetry.
All right. So the work of this work group is to look at our procurement procedure. Like many of you, you know that every time we have a budget meeting, there's always question about sole sourcing. There's always question about a whole lot of things. Why is the contract late? And we continue to have all these questions. So when I first came into office last term, there was some question that I have about the procurement process that some things we did, some things we did not do yet. Welcome, Budget Chair. And so we wanted to take an holistic, to borrow from Budget Chair word, look at the procurement process and to look at what.
I tried. No, you
Well, that's my neck. There goes my neck.
there, and I was like, would you like me to come over here?
I just do this. I just do this. How about that?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, it's good. There are enough of us now. I think it makes
No,
sense.
you're fine. So our charge is to look at the procedures and to look at what I call performance improvement opportunities. But in order for us to do performance improvement opportunities, we really have to understand the process. And so sometimes it could be that we don't understand it enough. It may be working and nothing is wrong. We just don't understand it. So part of our process is to have a good understanding of what does procurement do, how does it flow, and make sure we understand it. And then the next step that we're going to then try to do is, are there holes in there that we think we can make recommendations to help them and to help us make the process go better? And so that's yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to stop your speaking. I just wanted to make sure that I would be recognized because I have a lot of thoughts.
No problem, no problem. So I divided what I want to do today into 3, basically. One, what issues would we like to focus on? What are those things that every time it comes up that you have a heartburn because you really feel like something is amiss and we need to look at? So I want us to at least start with that list. I already talked about sole source. What is that other one? Cooperative agreements, contracting, because I think we have issues with contracting and how late it could go. So other than those 3, what are the issues that you have seen that you think you want us to tackle as part of procurement? The second thing that I want us to also decide on is, who are the people that would like to interview during this working group? Because it cannot just be us. I know that when library was trying to get their director, there was a whole hoopla about that. And then when everything fell apart, it was procurement. And I can tell you how many times there's been something that come back to procurement. So I really would like us to decide who we want to interview and make a list of the, other than people in procurement. I think we'll talk to procurement, but I would also like to identify departments, especially those that use a lot of things that we buy, and make sure we get 1 or 2 people from each department that we want to talk to us about What is their process? What are the issues that they're facing? Is another thing that I want us to talk about. And then the third thing that we would do really quickly is as a group, how do we want to meet? Does 5 o'clock work for everybody? Do we want to meet weekly? Would we rather do a Saturday 2 hours? What does that? I know. Yeah, I see staff looking at Saturday 2 hours. I don't think so. But then you wouldn't have every week. Just do one day and be 2-3 days and you're done with it. Maybe not, but I wanted to put that up. So before we go into the issues, I recognize Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I guess the first thought that I have kind of related to this is it would be helpful to me, and I've got examples, and maybe other council members have examples too, to be able to come to you or put it on Council Connect or whatever, of here are the specific examples where there has been a purchase either that's in transition or has already been made, and what does the lag time look like that we are receiving feedback on from initial, like, hey, I want to buy, I'll use MNPD as the example, a mass spectrometer, a piece of equipment that fire already had. So you would think that fire already has the same piece of equipment and we're basically just buying another one. Mm-hmm. Why did it take as long as it did? So kind of like, I hate to call it case study because I don't really think it would be a full-blown like case study, but really just like more detail about here's the scenario, and some of it's going to be burden on us to provide, like, here's the department, here's the description of what happened, here's like the timeline of whenever the person made the request initially, and then here's kind of any updates that went along with it. Because in some cases it's like email after email after email, like checking in, like what's the status, to the date when they finally got whatever the thing was. And so I've got several examples of those. And so that would be helpful because I think it would dovetail into your idea of like, let's talk about all the different types of procurement processes that they're going through. And then that way it would be easier, I think, to synthesize like where these fit into these different buckets. So that's a piece. And then the other thing that comes to mind is on insurance requirements. And so I'd love to hear from the procurement office. There's one person in particular that handles like cybersecurity policy and things like that, to get the parameters around what are those insurance requirements, and then how is that requirement applied across requests. So that's all that I wanted to mention.
Okay. Miss, I had a thought while you were talking. Director Darby, do we have a folder for this work group where we can put information as we collect them?
Yes. So if you go to the council resources page and scroll down to committees, under budget committee, it'll take you over to the SharePoint, scroll all the way down because it's working groups, and then your folders and working groups. However, you don't have access to upload things, so you'll need to send it to us and we'll put the documents up there. Okay. To the extent that you want to speak with one another after a meeting, Council Connect is the way to do that. So if you want to create a Council Connect post, then everybody can respond in comments to it.
Okay. Ms. Zeitlin, we talk about compiling all the procurement legislation that we have to date. Can we put that in that folder? One of the things that I would like us to do towards the end before we conclude is to look at the legislation that we have on the books already and to see whether they need updating or whether we're just not following them. That sounds terrible. That sounds terrible, but we are, but just to see, because some of the things that had to do with procurement, like I said, I've been looking at this since last term. Some of it are in the charter, some of it are really, really old when we're really small government, and it's not applicable anymore, or we need to just fine-tune it and check. So hopefully we can get all of that in our conversation. Budget Chair Porterfield.
Thank you so much. One thing that I wanted us to look at were the number of sole source contracts that we're doing. Okay, I didn't know if you had already covered that before I walked in.
Yes,
okay.
Sole source, co-op, contract lag, and insurance is the issues that I have.
Was contract lag, like why we get the contract so late?
The timeline it takes to, because she's talking about there's so many examples of where we start a contract, but by the time we get it, we're now in a rush because they're now saying, oh, you have to approve it today because it has to get out. And when we ask why we get it late, then they tell us that it's been with procurement. So why is it taking that long? So maybe the timeline is more like it.
Or also, when we get one that we are being asked to approve for previous work that's already been
done.
And then it's coming to us. So
So the contract timeline, what is the process, I think, for approving a contract? How does it go through? How long does it take? And I think if we listen to it from the department side and we listen to it from procurement side, maybe we can identify where the bottleneck is and see what we need to do about that. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Davidson.
It's a smaller thing within it, and it might get worked out with the sort of sole source and all that kind of stuff, but like, just the way it comes to us on council, where it's like, we want you to approve a $5 million contract, and then you're like, what's this $5 million? It's just like one computer, and they're like, well, we're only spending $10,000, and you're like, what is happening? Just that, how we handle the value of a contract is very confusing and difficult from an oversight perspective.
And I think where a lot of that comes in is, especially for me, where I get a heartburn is with those sole source, where we really don't have any other choice and we're not looking at any other supplier or contractor, and it's like, this is who we have to use and we don't have any choice. And I think it would be very good for us to understand what is that process. How did we decide it will be sole source? Why is it sole source? How long will something be sole sourced, right? Do we, at some point in the middle of a contract, 5 years, start looking at, are there other actors before we get to the end of it? So those are some of the conversations that part of what we want to look at. That's why I said, maybe it's the former auditor in me, is that you cannot suggest improvement if you don't understand the process. And so if we have the process laid out, then it will be easy for us to be able to say, why don't we do this differently? Councilmember Evans.
Piggybacking on Chair Porterfield's comment about the contracts that come to us when the work has already been done, if you could also make a note to include like how amendments are handled, because there's a provider that Metro Health has that basically wanted to give Metro Health more money, but we were in danger of losing that opportunity because of how long it was taking to process the amendment. And then I'd also be interested in the volume of what is, as part of that overall like procurement process, what departments are requesting like the most widgets, across all the different like things that you have listed, because like Metro Health, in one of the budget conversations I have with them, they were interested in getting their own procurement person because going back to Chair Porterfield's comment, it's taking so long for contracts to get processed that have very specific timelines kind of aligned with spending money, and those kinds of things, so.
Okay. I'm making lists. And then another thing that I wanted to put as part of our conversation towards the end of it is the purchasing agent itself. One of the things that I found from last time is that there's so much power in the purchasing agent, and the purchasing agent gets to determine a lot of this, like you're saying about the 5 million and 10 million and all of that. And again, it's in the charter. Right? When we were very small, it makes sense that one person is making all that determination. Because we do so much now, I do think there has to be some level of maybe oversight is not the word, because we have great purchasing agents, but I think it's good for it to go through somebody else. Or maybe the amount will be something that will be, if it's over 5 million, then 2 people have to look at it or something. I don't know, but I think the power of the purchasing agent is something that's always been like, why is it one person is the final say in everything purchasing for every contract? I think that's too much power in one person for a government this big. And it's nothing against the purchasing agent. Again, we're looking at performance improvement.
Thank you, Councilor Sora. Thank you for saying that. That is something that I lifted up last week in Council Lady Toombs' special working group. I lifted it up tonight in the meeting that we just had, and I wanted to lift it up again too, just for kind of the sake of not only the viewing audience, but also for our Metro employees. Like, we don't want anyone to feel like this is like a condemnation or that anyone has done anything wrong. Like, we don't want the public to hear these meetings and think that like we're trying to uncover something nefarious is going on. I think our attempts, my vision in doing these working groups and in having these conversations was so that we can provide more transparency, so that we can be more effective and efficient. And we are very thankful for the work that our departments are doing. So this is not in any way condemning what anybody's doing, but this is trying to be, how can the council be really good partners and support our departments and support our constituents, so that we can just all flow a little more easily. Because things do happen and contracts get tied up, but if we don't understand why contracts are tied up, then on the floor as a council member, it's very frustrating to hear, no, you can't defer this for one meeting or else the whole city's gonna burn down. That's like frustrating for us, right? So we want to get an understanding of like, why can't we defer it, or why doesn't anyone know if it could be deferred? Like, people should, at least at the bare minimum, know if they can afford to have a deferral or not. So I think it's just like about improving upon those processes.
Thank you. And that's why I kept using the word performance improvement opportunities, because to me that's what it is. I've sat with procurement so many times. Through last time, and Mrs. Zacklin would tell you about meetings with them, and when they explain some of the things, it's like, they are doing a lot and they do have a lot of things in place. But it's good for us, again, that's why our job is to understand it. Again, like I said in the beginning, maybe nothing is wrong, and then we just need to better educate ourselves and educate our colleagues on what the process is, so everybody understands. I'll give a good example. We're looking at the state contract the last time, and that contract was late, right? And I was like, why did it take this long? Well, it's what was the state delayed it. There was nothing you could do about that. So those little nuances, I think, for us to understand it, will allow us to be able to do our work better. And if there are opportunities to make improvements to help us, then that's what we want to do. So I appreciate that. I'm going to go through the list of what I have real quickly, and then those will be the issues that we identify, and then if we need to add to it, we can always send email to Director Darby, or is it Ms. Zacklin? Both of you? Director Darby, okay. All right. What I have on my notes, and I don't know, are you taking notes, Director Darby? Is that how it works? Oh, thank you, thank you. I have the sole source, the cooperative agreement, insurance, and then we talk about contracting itself. And with the contracting, we're talking about timing of the contracts. We want to understand why we have late file contracts. We want to look into amendments and how it impacts contracts. We're looking at volume, and I have a question about that I'm going to ask for. And then the amount, to determine the amount of the contracts. And then we also said we want to look at the purchasing agent's role as part of the issues that we want to look at. Now, can I ask for, in terms of volume, and I thought about it, I didn't get to it, and I thought it might be easier for me to ask. Most of what we spend our budget on is salaries. But when it comes to non-personnel expenses, can we get a breakdown by department in terms of where the most procurement happen, so that as we're looking at who to talk to, we can concentrate on the big dollar items mostly, and then maybe take one little one, so we have a very good sample, and we're not just, I think we don't want to talk to people that are not buying a lot when there's folks that are buying a lot. I think that will guide that conversation.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, ma'am.
Buying often or buying a lot, as in large quantities? Because if a department...
Dollar amount.
So here's my question. If they, let's say, use procurement twice a year, and it's a lot of items twice a year, they may not have as much experience going through the procurement process, but they may have a big bill, whereas someone else who uses it consistently throughout the year may have more experience with procurement, even though the amount isn't the biggest. So is there a way to determine who's using procurement the most?
The most, yeah, okay. Thank you. That's a good point. Thank you, ma'am. Alrighty, now, do we want to wait until we get that list to determine who to interview? Or do you guys already have ideas of some people that you were thinking when we start this procurement group, we have to talk to X, Y, and Z? Do you have anyone in mind already?
Or you interview as far as like user of.
User of the
procurement?
system,
I would
yes.
say somebody from Metro Health would be probably good, because I know that they have a lot. And I don't know, that would be
Who that
Dr.
person
Black, maybe start, and I'm happy to email her, but start with Dr. Black and see if it would be her or somebody on her team who would wanna share.
All right. I wanted to talk to library, because we had that, and that is a specific issue, but we have a lot of people that use the system to get a new person, and no Metro Action was doing something. There was something around that area that I did not understand, and I did not get out that walk, and I was just curious about that. I want to talk to Mike Lacey. Mike may not be with Metro anymore, but he did a lot. He's not with Metro, but he did a lot with so many organizations. And so are we allowed to talk to somebody who used to be a former employee, or we're not allowed to? Or you think that might create
You could
conflicts?
extend an invitation, but you were talking about user interviews, so
So,
I was interpreting that to mean current
correct.
users.
Okay, all right.
Well, may I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So specific to Mike, are you thinking about like kind of the grant making process related to that and the procurement side, like the discussion of that?
Yes, because I know he had a lot of experience in that before he left, and he worked with that a lot. So that's why I thought he may have some, or maybe you can just send us his thoughts. We may not get to interview him because
Yeah.
he's not here anymore. But if he has some thoughts, maybe he can send it to us.
I mean, that would be good.
I think it'd be very good. He has
He does have a lot
He has a
of
lot.
information, and the process is gonna be, for like kind of grant making in that space is like
Yeah.
gonna be different this time.
Well,
but-
we can leave that for now, and I think maybe when we get the list of who uses it the most, and we can then come back to, we want to talk to procurement. The idea that I have, and I want to toss that out to all of you, is that I think it's better to talk to the people that are having issues, and to talk about the issues first before you bring procurement in, so then they can address how they solve that issues or what process they have, rather than letting them speak first, and then people come and talk about issues, and we don't have then we have to bring them back.
Okay.
So I think if we talk about the issues first, talk to the people that may have issues first, make a documentation of what that is, then when we do talk to procurement, then we can use those interview as, here's what we see, here's what we're thinking, what is your response to this, how do you address this? And like I said, they have a new strategic plan that is awesome, and I think some of this will be addressed in that. Yes, ma'am.
Can we
Councilman
talk,
Burns.
hear from somebody from General Services about all the vehicles and, vehicle components?
Okay.
Yes.
I think MMPD too.
Yes.
Yeah.
MMPD definitely too.
And
You
is
have,
there any conversation around, let's just say a department got new cars this year, and next year they want a newer model car. Is there any conversation with procurement around a department requesting equipment be replaced when that equipment may not be at its life cycle yet or not fully used yet? Like, does procurement have any say in departments wanting new equipment, even if they just got new equipment?
Yeah, that's always, I remember last time, that was always one of my problem with the 4% fund. Every time I look at the 4% fund, and I'm one of those people that read everybody's forms, and there's a question on there that always say, did procurement approve this? And it's always no for most departments. And I'm like, why is procurement not in? I would think that you talk to procurement first. But there's a question on that form that we filled out, or that the department filled out, that there's something about procurement, whether they know about the price, or there's something about procurement in there. Now, when I pushed for it over the years, they told me that this is just for us to approve the the purchase of the item, but procurement will still have to go back and do all of the approvals on the back end. So that's why I left it alone. But it's always funny to me that people just checked that box and said,
That it wasn't
no.
vetted.
Yeah.
It wasn't vetted first.
No,
It was
in most
just-
of the forms. And
I
every
see.
time I email and said, why did it? Then I was like, okay. So I think to your point, and we see, so if it is, if it's not, if it's an asset, a fixed asset, if it's something that is more than 1 year use, how do we make sure that a replacement of that item is warranted if the one that we bought is still in use? That's what you're trying. So you're trying to say that if we're doing fixed asset or equipment, how do we know that there's a need for new one? Have we looked into? Another question that is on that form is always that, did you look into other departments?
Did I
And
look?
surplus, no, on the 4% form. It always asks
Oh.
if people look into other departments or look into, and it's always no, and I'm like, okay. So those are the kind of questions that we may want to ask, is that what is the process? We may not know what they do. So if a department comes and says we want a new equipment, does procurement check to make sure that the old one is still viable or not? So that's a good question. So we'll put it on part of the issues. We'll call it replacement, asset replacement. All right. So we have Metro Health, General Services, MMPD, Library maybe. But I think we can see what comes up from the list other than these four once we have it. All right. So now the third thing that I want us to agree to then is, when do we want to meet? Often.
All day Sunday.
When's the next
Did you get a
holiday?
small
when you're off?
department?
We did not, because we said let's get
We're gonna wait to get the list.
Yes,
Okay.
let's get the list and then we can.
Columbus
Okay, cool.
Day, is that still on it?
Columbus Day is not a holiday for us.
Veterans
So
Day.
It's not?
Veterans Day is a holiday.
So,
Oh,
so
I do.
are you guys better with
Day off.
weekday, or are you open to weekend?
I mean, always later in the day is always
Later is
better for me.
Later, but later also
But it's not better for
It's not
them, so
better for
it's
the
like
staff
a-
and the building. So I don't know how we. Later is better for me.
Me too.
So what do we do?
4:30, 5 o'clock, I think is.
Is okay.
So it's 5 o'clock,
Totally
okay?
fine.
That's fine for me.
All right, we say 5 o'clock.
What day are we looking at?
Where is the calendar? What's today? Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday, the 11th.
Okay. Do
of
we want to
September.
do? God, my day is all over the place. What day we got? Next week is not good for me. I'm out of town, so I want to give us like 2 weeks, and that way, in the meantime, we can give out the notices to the people that we want to talk to. We'll get the list of the purchases by volume and by amount and then we can decide who we want to talk to. So that 2 weeks allow us to get some things out. Yes, ma'am?
One other thing that we were just looking at, there is like a procurement 101 that was presented during orientation, and that material is on the Metro Council Resources page under like council orientation. So we can send that out, we can link it to your SharePoint.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll like that.
do
That's a
that.
refresher. Thank you.
So are we looking at the 25th, 2 weeks from today?
That
Something is happening on the
is
25th.
a little dicey for me, but if I can't make it that week,
Yeah,
I can
the
maybe
25th.
send questions in and watch it later.
I have something on the 25th. What do I have?
But it's
After 5. Yeah.
Oh,
think-
I do too. I forgot.
The McGavock.
I have something on the 25th as well.
The McGavick thing's on the 25th?
But is that's during the day? Is that the email you're referring to?
No,
Nothing,
I'm
something
thinking of
else?
something else that's in the evening.
So what's happening on the 26th? I don't even have my phone. I think something's happening on the 26th too. I can't remember.
I can do the 26th at 4 or 4:30 or 5. Or I could do the evening of the 26th.
That week is not good.
No, but it's my son's bar mitzvah week. All our families come to town. We're
to
doing the
town.
baby naming for the
Oh,
COVID
wow.
baby that week. It's a bad week.
It's a
Right,
bad
you just, y'all do you that week. I'll find you on the flip side of September.
I mean, we could go to that following week. That would put us at October 2nd.
Do you want to do that's a Metro Council meeting week, but if you're
It'll
like
be the
open to
Wednesday,
it,
yeah.
it'll be the
I'm
Wednesday
okay
or
with the
Thursday. You okay
second.
with the second?
Oh, sorry. We're okay with it. Are y'all okay with it?
There's that, there's also, it may be too late, but depending on what's on budget, sometimes budget's really quick and sometimes it's not doing it right after
Right after the
budget
budget.
on Monday.
On
Are we still the
30th?
last ones, or is somebody behind us?
You're the last one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if we're gonna be here anyway for budget, do we want to meet right after budget?
Wait a minute, hold on.
Maybe
This
just
is
stay
Monday,
The 30th.
30th.
and budget will be what time on that day?
5.
We don't know
Typically,
for sure.
4:45, 5 o'clock. And we won't know until we're
Till-
closer, like what the
Based on
agenda
legislation.
looks like.
Okay.
I'm also I'm happy to be a little flexible too, if that makes it easier.
Yeah.
But then does that keep you all way later than 6, 7? Yeah.
I mean, depends on how long
you're
we're
here
working.
anywhere.
It's another hour Monday or another hour
Right,
Wednesday.
yeah.
How do you really feel?
Also, we have to also, no, no, no.
Probably
Here's
early
something we have to bear in mind is
Yeah,
that,
that's true. Wednesday, if that, especially since that'll be public hearing, we're gonna be, you
Yeah.
know, if the
yeah,
first is
that's not
late,
even
we'll
the
be
issue. The issue
gone
is
on
that
Wednesday.
when we come back, we will start interviewing people, so we cannot be too late. So you
You're
can.
talking about on the 30th?
Yeah, because what we need to do
That's a
between
good
now is we should have a list and start inviting people to talk to us. And so if they're gonna come and talk to us, we cannot tell them to be at 7 p.m.
Yes, I agree.
So I think we will need to do earlier, so, busy people. What about the 23rd Monday?
Let's see what's on the calendar on that day.
I know
September.
that.
We're still in September, right?
We're still in September, but we can go to October, we can do Thursday.
I'm potentially planning a special called meeting on Thursday.
The 4th?
3rd.
The 3rd?
I'm out of
That's the
town for
thing
work.
is that.
I could do the
there's
20.
So much.
I could do the 23rd. Also, you know, I was really pushing people to go ahead and get started so we could start the process. We have time to work through it, right? So it doesn't have to be next week or 2 weeks. If it takes 3 weeks or a month for the next meeting, it's okay. So we don't have to feel rushed.
Oh.
But we just wanted it to like get off the ground because we've been trying, because we've been trying to get this lunch since like January. So for all the working groups, right? So
Okay.
I think if
That's
we
good.
can,
So
We don't have to put
where are we
too much
moving now?
pressure.
So we've passed September.
so
Now
we
we're
said
in
September the
October.
23rd was one of the dates we looked at. We hadn't decided on September 23rd, and then we also just said October the 3rd, which is, I'm not
She
available
has
on the
something.
Yeah,
3rd.
that's the one I'm planning, the special called meeting.
For public health and safety. I won't be their chair. I have something on the
Okay,
3rd, so.
all right.
So the 4th?
Unless you want to have it a different day. The 4th is a Friday.
Oh,
Nobody wants to meet on a Friday.
No, nobody wants to. So then go to the next week.
The next week would be, the 7th is
7th.
committee. The next week is fall break, so people may be traveling. I would go back to, what about the 23rd?
I'm all right with the 23rd.
I'm okay with the 23rd. That's tough, because that's.
Well, I'm
Barbie's
out of town
school
for work on the 23rd. That's what also makes it. Just that week, y'all do you that week. I will catch up, and I can submit questions once we know who the speaker is to, if that's helpful.
I'm okay with the 23rd.
Okay, the 23rd, 5:30? Is that too late?
Can we do 5?
That's fine for me.
Okay,
But if
5.
you,
5 is gonna be hard for me, but
Okay.
I'll be late that day, but I don't want to be the one to hold everybody up.
And I'm out of town. I don't come back until the 20th.
do we have to have one of the two of you? Could you make Brian do it?
No,
It's,
we can
it's not
be
the
here.
timing, we
Yeah.
can be here,
Yeah.
it's just that security has to be.
Oh, got it,
So if
okay.
you start at
have to stay
5:30,
open.
then you force them to work an
I
extra
see.
hour that
Let's
day.
keep going. Let's keep going to October.
Okay.
October.
Wednesday,
where are
the
we now?
25th? Did we say something won't work on the 25th?
No, she's not available 25th, right? And she
And then
has
what about
I'm
stuff-
available any of the dates though, so.
What about the 26th?
This is,
This is a very,
Did we say we couldn't do it on September 26th?
I know I have something, but I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, I'm going to cancel. I
Why
don't have
don't
my
we,
phone. I
okay,
left it
so
in my
today
car.
is September the 11th. For the sake of all of our times, why don't we take this to Council Connect maybe?
And then, yeah, or do a doodle
Doodle
poll.
poll.
A doodle
Yeah, do a
poll.
doodle poll.
That's fine.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do a doodle poll and send
When
it
you
to
have your calendar in front of you.
So I left my phone in my car.
Oh, wait, we're scheduling a meeting, you don't even have your calendar?
I know
Yes.
25th, 20, I know 24th, 25th, 26th is not okay.
Doing all on memory.
No, I just know that 1 week is not okay.
The Stratford thing is the 27th,
The
by the way.
Stratford thing is, oh, Stratford is 27. No, McGavock is 24. No. United Against Age is 24th.
Okay. You
And
said
then
what?
McGavock is 25th.
Stratford
And then there's something on
27.
26th. And Stratford is 27. So that week
What's the
is
McGavick thing?
we're doing a follow-up for the Youth and Local Government Day.
Oh, okay.
That's
a good thing.
their
Okay, gotcha.
suggestion, yeah. So, okay.
All right.
I think we're good. I like the idea of we'll do a doodle poll. I can send a doodle. Can I send a doodle poll?
why don't you,
Or you
send,
got-
I think the best thing to do is to
Cancel
send me
Connect,
a
okay.
list of dates that
Okay.
you are interested in,
Okay.
and then we can check Metro calendars to see
Okay.
if there are other things that conflict.
Yes, ma'am.
But go ahead and send an array of dates, we can
Okay.
check all that, and then we can ask the rest of the working group what your availability is, and then kind of pick the date when the most people are available.
And can we kind of look at it for like the next 3?
2 or 3.
Yeah, the next
I
like,
think that we should look into all of October.
Yeah.
At this point, based on what I've heard just now.
I mean, more so, can we look
October's a fun
at,
Tuesday month.
And October's at 5, October.
October, I know, that's why I just called it October.
can we look at, I mean, scheduling the next 3 meetings, go ahead and getting them on the calendar? Because also, if you're in one, I'm in all 3 of the working groups, so I'm also balancing this working group with the other 2, which would, you know, obviously we don't want the meetings to conflict, so if we could get them in advance a little bit, that'll help.
When do we know when the others are meeting so that we can avoid that completely?
The Berkeley's
During
group,
the day.
They're during the day.
Well, I think that the HR group is meeting next Wednesday.
and then Berkeley just said that the group is on the 25th at 2.
Okay. Oh, I didn't have that one.
Yeah, she just said it right at the end of the last
Okay.
one, like when it was over.
All right, I'll check with you on the schedule for the other group, and then we will try and like I said, I would have loved a Saturday. Do 2-3 hours on Saturday.
publicly notice it.
It was much easier for me to and knock this out. And
Sorry.
I'm fine with the Saturday. Do y'all
I
have to be
don't
there?
think that we can meet in this building on
No, we
Saturday.
can't meet in the building on Saturdays.
If we met at a community center or a
But
church,
then it won't be recorded.
Then it won't be
So
recorded.
if that's kind of the hope to have
And
them
then-
recorded.
And you're also asking other
Metro employees to work on
attend,
Saturday.
to answer
Oh.
questions.
Okay, when we
I didn't
do the
realize they were at the
interview,
next one.
we'll do it. And then when we come to us just making that decision and reviewing, we'll do Saturday.
Okay.
How about that? Miss Darby's like, these are rebels.
We'll meet at 5 o'clock in the morning.
oh gosh.
She said that on purpose because of me.
I could do
More
6
3 a.m.
o'clock in the morning, that
Well,
would actually work really well for me.
But we can, and so let me ask you a question on the recording part. So like, if we met at the library or community center or something, we could
We could do
record
Facebook,
regularly,
yeah.
right? And provide the file to YouTube, like I could Zoom on my, like live stream a Zoom and.
Yeah, we can do
Like a Facebook Live.
Facebook Live, and they'll be able to do that.
I would not recommend doing that. If you
Okay.
want to have an audio recording of the meeting,
Uh-huh.
that's fine, but don't do a Zoom live.
separate
or a
meeting,
Facebook Live
or-
or
okay.
anything like that. And then we will have the recording for, minutes purposes.
But it's just a Zoom that is not streamed.
not
That is just
streaming.
us
Yeah.
in a Zoom meeting or recording it via Zoom that we can provide the link.
Which is how they do it, like NDOT does
We've
all
done
those
that
traffic
before.
calming meetings and they just record them and then later
And
they
then-
submit
yeah.
them so like people
Yeah,
can just
we
go.
can talk to
Yeah,
M and N
we'll talk
about
to
their
them about-
preferred
yeah, what-
method, yeah.
And what platform they would.
All right, well, thank you all so much. Thank you for staying later. Thank you. I think we're on to a good start, and thank you, Madam Chair. And so we will adjourn knowing that the next meeting is TBD.
It's happening. It's gonna
It will
happen.
happen.
Thank you.
Would you like a parking
Red
pass?
button.